This is the G-Force T42 e-bike. In this episode, I'm going to address 1. The chintzy rear fender, 2. Replacing the stock saddle with a better spring saddle, 3. Calibrating the speedometer, and 4. Change the power assist levels from the default of 3 levels to 5, and I'll explain why I did that. Let me start off with the fender. So as you can see, this is the way the fender came, and I'll show you what I did. You can see actually my modifications that I've done to the fender. I'm going to remove the fender. This is the way the fender came. This is the bracket. What I did was drill out the 2 rivets that were here. There were actually 2 rivets. So I drilled them out. I've already drilled them out already, so but I put these nuts and bolts on there since I've drilled out the rivets. I needed a bracket so I could attach it somewhere, and I actually found the point, which is right here, pointing it out to you right here. That point right here, it actually has a thread. If you look carefully, this point on the bike has a threaded hole right here. So I'm going to use that point, but I needed to find a bracket. Went to a local hardware store and I found this thing. Forgot what it was called. Put a link in the description. Bought it from Ace Hardware Store for a few bucks. All I did was, from the hardware store, I also bought some M5 10mm hex head bolts. Right? I'm gonna put those through here like this. Then mount the bracket, which fits perfectly. And then what I used was aircraft locking nuts. These are M5 aircraft lock nuts. This way with the vibrations, they won't vibrate loose and fall out. Tighten that up. Next thing I did was I took this, stuck it down here, and then I took the existing L bracket that I took off, that came off the front, I mounted here, and then I was able to mark it and drill 2 holes. Once I drilled the 2 holes, I used a utility knife and I cut this slot so I can actually fit the bracket through from the bottom like this. And that's my modification. Decided to put some Fender Washers here so it won't crack through the plastic. These are actually 2 Fender Washers. And once again, these are M5 10mm long. I put those on there. Tighten the sucker up. So here's my fender modified. Right? So what I do is I take this, put this down here. It's easier to get a Phillips head because I do have a ratcheting angled screwdriver right here. And trying to get an Allen key over here, not that easy, I'm sorry. So I mount this part down here first. Just get the threads in loosely. Then I take the original bolt that was from this fender part that was here already, where I took the original fender off, and put that thing back with the washer. Then I'm gonna come down here and tighten this one up. I also kind of bent the bracket a little bit. As you can see, it's got a little curve in it. Bent it by hand. No need to use any heavy duty tools or anything. Just tighten this part up. Don't forget, don't over tighten these, because these are aluminum threads, and aluminum will strip very easily. It's soft metal. Snug it down, and then probably give it like a 1/4 to an 1/8 turn. I'll give it an 1/8 turn to tighten it up. Right, nice and tight. Straighten it out. Simple, easy thing to do. And I don't forget to tighten this one. Snug it down and give it like an 1/8 of a turn. Should be tight enough. And that's all it is. With a spray can of black later on. Nice and tight. Doesn't flex. Next subject I'm going to work on is replacing the stock saddle with a better spring saddle. Okay, the saddle that came with this bike looked like it had springs, but they were round plastic things that looked like springs, but they were just hard plastic. This seat I purchased from Amazon. It's called the Puroma Comfort Bike Seat. It cost me like 18 bucks. There was a little discount or something like that in there. It does have springs, as you can see, easily replaceable. I used the stock seat stem, the Allen bolt in there. Here's the springs right here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to calibrate the speedometer. Easy process to do. All you need is a tape measure. First thing you do is grab your tape measure and you measure the diameter of the wheel, the overall diameter. We know this wheel is 20-inch diameter wheels, but in actuality it's actually 22 inches in diameter. So now you got that measurement of 22 inches. You got to go to the setting and change it to 22, because the default setting was 26, which meant the bike showed a faster speed than it was actually going. So in order to get to that setting, you hold the plus and minus for 2 seconds and you get to this mode, and then next thing you do is you hold the info button on the side right here, and then you hold the minus over here for another 2 seconds, and then you'll get the wheel diameter setting. And from here, I already set it on 22 inches, but originally when it came from the factory it was 26 inches. That's all it is. Once you get that, you press this button again, you hold it, and it sets back to the 0. Now your speed should be very close to the actual speed. Okay, now I'm going to explain to you how to change the pedal assist settings. The bike came in the default mode of 4 settings. Here's 0, which is pedaling only, no assist. And these buttons over here change the mode. Number 1 mode takes you to about 15 miles per hour. Number 2 takes you to about 20 miles per hour. And number 3 is the fastest, and that's about your top speed of 26 to 28 miles per hour. The way the system is designed, the speed is not variable depending on how much throttle you give it, like a traditional motorcycle. Once you start pedaling, or if you just hit the throttle, the motor wants to accelerate to the set speed of the mode you are in. So if you're in mode 1, like I showed you right here, and you either start pedaling or press the throttle, the bike wants to accelerate to 15 miles per hour. That acceleration may be too much if you just want to have a slow cruising speed, or if you're trying to weave in and out of traffic. I found out after messing with the settings that there are 8 modes you can choose from. This is how you can get to those modes. First thing you do is you press the plus and minus button right here. You hold it for 2 seconds. Next thing you do, you press it again for the next 2 seconds, and you get into this mode. From there, you scroll up until you get to the SCA screen. From there, you hit the info button on the side right here, and now you'll see you're in the mode 03. To understand these modes, the modes with the 0 indicate that when you select 0, it is pedal only, no assist. The modes without the 0, like this one, mean that the bike won't have a pedal only mode. It would only have pedal assists. I changed it from the default mode of 03 to 05 right there. That means I will have 0 as a pedal only mode and 5 different speed levels. From this point, I can adjust those 5 different speed levels by hitting this button right here, which will now change to number 1. Number 1-20. 20 means it's the lowest settings, lowest power setting. So you can't go it any lower. I'm trying to click it, won't go any lower, but it will go up. There's your 21, 22. So I set this at the lowest setting. Once you get the number 1 set, press this button again, and you'll go to number 2. Number 2, I set it at 35. You could also raise it or lower it by pressing this button. Here's 36, but I'm leaving it at 35. My third setting, number 3, is now 50. And now 50 is not the speed, this is just a percentage of power. So that's number 3 is my 50. I'm going to change my number 4, and I put that to 75. And then I put my 5th one at 100, which is the maximum. The reason I did this is because my first setting will give me approximately 5 miles an hour. My second setting will give me 10 miles an hour. My third setting will give me 15 miles an hour. My fourth setting would be 20 miles an hour. And my 5th setting would be the maximum speed of the bike, which is about 26 to 28 miles per hour. Once you get this setting, you can press this button again. And then to get out of it, you press it again, you hold it, and it should reset back to 0. And if you notice, I'll press this button right here, and notice this little number 1, my modes, there goes my 0 right there, which is pedal only, right? I pressed number 1, that was my lowest settings. That will take me to 5 miles an hour. This one will take me to 10 miles an hour. This one take me to 15 miles an hour. This one will take me to 20 miles an hour. And then this will take me my maximum about 26 to 28 miles an hour.